This is truly an awesome aspiration, called to the perfection of holiness as children of the resurrection. This holiness is a participation and a reflection of God who is love. The desert fathers and mothers emphasized the primacy of love and purity of heart as essential to spiritual life and authentic communion with God. Where do we find this holiness, so that we too may participate and reflect God's love into our world? When St. Francis was asked where this perfection was to be found amongst his brothers, he answered, "Imitate the lives and possess the merits of these holy friars. The perfect faith and love of poverty of Brother Bernard, the simplicity and purity of Brother Leo, the courtesy of Brother Angelo, the gracious look and natural good sense of Brother Massio, the mind upraised to God, possessed in its highest perfection by Brother Giles, the virtuous and constant prayer of Brother Rufino, the patience of Brother Juniper, the bodily and spiritual courage of Brother John of Loves, the charity of Brother Rogers, and the caution of Brother Lucidus. For our home is not here, but in heaven." In Jesus we find that perfect reflection of God's love in our world. Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. Jesus looked at the rich young man and loved him. No buts or ifs or provided that. Jesus loved him. When Jesus was facing his own death and saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son," and to the disciple, "Here is your mother." Sometimes we also can glimpse a little of this God's love flaming in our world, a little bit here and a little bit there. We may find the reflection of God's love between husband and wife, or between parent and child. In families also we are told we can see God's face. The priest on the altar celebrating the Eucharist can reflect the face of Christ as easily as the faces of our brothers and sisters. Looking deeply into the heart of creation, we can come to see God's reflection. We may even gain a little taste of the beatific union of souls, fleeting moments of immanent bliss that can only truly belong to the transcendent world. Yet as often as we try to capture these little vignettes of God's presence, God's love cannot be contained within any particular vessel, for it is far too wide, far too deep, and far too everlasting to truly be reflected or contained within any singular container. This is always the problem when we segregate, judge, canonize, and apply our human standards of what is good, true, and beautiful, and therefore what is right, within our own particular structures. Each and every container is too small, so that the flowering of love becomes root-bound, unable to grow down into God's love. This is the destiny of all religion that does not open itself up to the immense bounty of God's love. Like the Sadducees, we all too often apply our neat little philosophical window boxes. If this, then that, therefore we must exclude. In this case, the Sadducees reason that we must exclude the resurrection, must exclude any divine vocation. We know this judgment will end badly, denying Jesus' divinity by seeking to destroy Jesus' humanity. We also often fail to see the divinity within our brothers and sisters, and so also come to exclude their humanity. This we would deem righteous indignation, because their love does not comply with the matrix of my own reflection, does not follow my canon of what is intrinsically ordered. And so we pass sentence on love itself, love ordered within law towards propagation and ancestry, This is the argument of the Sadducees. We have a law, and according to that law, they must be put to death. There are many ways in which we also convict our brothers and sisters to sitting outside our barriers, many ways in which we impose this death penalty. Each time our feet are planted within the circle of righteous indignation, our participation in God's love becomes confounded as the reflection of God dims. Let us recall ourselves to the ways of the desert Abbas and the desert Ammas. Let us also recollect ourselves to that purity of a broken heart that allows the immortal diamond within to reflect that love that God breathed into our soul, creating us human and divine in the image of the universal Christ. The bigger this container becomes, the wider our hearts stretch, so that God's infinite wisdom conforms us to becoming God's fool. This was the way of St. Francis, and this is our calling also. The Lord grant you peace.